Ladies and gentlemen, the Modi government is in its third term, and many would look at the last two terms before the third term began earlier this year on what India has achieved as a country under the Modi regime. One term which has now become a catchphrase every time the Prime Minister goes out or every time a foreign leader, even the Russian president, speaks about it. Make in India has become synonymous with the India story. And I have a very special guest. And the reason why we're talking about this today is because we complete 10 years. 10 years of the Make in India push. I have Amitabh Kant, who's India's G20 Sherpa, and also the former CEO of Niti Aayog, joining us on the show this evening. He knows a thing or two about the Make in India project. He's been a key figure in this movement. And Amitabh Kant, thank you for joining us. First of all, Make in India is not just a catchphrase anymore. I mean, I remember 10 to 15 years back, Mr. Kant, phones would be imported from China, right? Today, we are exporting mobile phones. That's just one aspect of it. But you've seen the growth of the India story, the manufacturing aspect of it. Mr. Kant.
So, 10 years back, India was very complex, very difficult. And over the years, we built up a lot of rules, regulations, procedures, paperwork, acts, all of that. We were ranked 142 in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business. Even all countries, even Pakistan was way ahead of us. The first thing that Prime Minister Modi drove was that our focus should be on improving ease of doing business. He asked us to automate processes, to rationalize rules, digitize them. He said that all departmental procedures must be merged and streamlined and make the states compete on ease of doing business parameters. We started ranking states on ease of doing business. Over 1,600 old laws were abolished. This has not happened anywhere in the country. Second thing, he asked us to open up the foreign direct investment regime. So bureaucratic hurdles were done away with. The Foreign Investment Promotion Board was abolished. Case-to-case approvals were done away with. And the country is open to FDI, the foreign direct investment. Most sectors have been opened up to the automatic route without any government approval. We've opened up FDI in defense production, construction, railways, insurance. Many of the sectors have seen foreign investment thresholds rise up from 10% to 100%. We've allowed FDI to come in. In 2014, FDI stood at about 28 billion. Today, it is over 70 billion last year, and it peaked at 85 billion in 2022. The third thing that happened was that, the patent registration, that is innovation in India, was taking a lot of time. It used to take 7 years, 8 years. We came out with a national intellectual property right policy in 2016. We overhauled the IPR regime. The technical manpower in the patent office was increased 4 times. The average time taken for examination of a patent application was reduced from an average of 72 months to just 5 to 10 months. That has been the reduction, from 72 months to just 5 to 10 months. And the patent office has granted over 100,000 patents in financial year 24. You compare this to financial year 14, when we had just 38,000 patents. So we've jumped up from 38,000 to 100,000. And the trademark registry is fully, we are able to, the period of examination of trademark application has been reduced from 13 months to less than 30 days. All this has been done to drive investment, to drive manufacturing, because India has always been a service nation. Now, the important thing is that if you don't drive manufacturing, you will not be able to create jobs. Then we started the Startup India movement. When we did this, in 2016, there were just 300 startups in India. Today, we have over 140,000 startups spread across all our states and union territories. They create over 12 lakh jobs, and we have over 140 unicorns. So all these initiatives of Startup India, of improving in ease of doing business, opening up FDI, revamping intellectual property rights, all happened as a consequence of the Make in India policy.
Yeah.
And then we came out with the production-linked incentive scheme, which has made major impact, and I'll like to dwell a little substantially as we go along on that.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? When we speak to people from the industry, Mr. Kant, see, there is this feeling that for every scheme that the government launches, there are 10 speed breakers, right? You have an opposition that just criticizes you, tries to stop you at every step. They even try to block your schemes in their states, right? And then when you speak to them, they also tell you that, you know, for example, if you look at India's story, right? We were an importer, and the whole idea was to become self-sustainable. And then we are now trying to look at exports. Now, from being an importer to being self-sustainable to becoming an exporter, how difficult will that transition be, or how difficult has it been in terms of enforcing this policy on the ground, the implementation of it?
It's been very, very tough, very difficult. Changing of mindset, changing of procedures, doing away with rules, regulation procedures, changing the mindset of tax officials, changing the mindset of state officials. Very, very tough. And that is why we're in a country where we used to import all smartphones. Today, look at this in a short while. We are now making smartphones. We are the third largest exporter in a very short while. We are touching a value of 15 billion. And we have brought in schemes to build semiconductors, display, design ecosystem in India. And we are moving from being importers to being exporters. Now, this means that you are becoming an integral part of global value chains. This is very difficult, very tough. You have to import at lower rates of duty, manufacture here, add value, and re-export. You have to bring size and scale of manufacturing. Look at this in a short while. Apple, which used to do all its production in China, has shifted 20% of its production to India and will keep doing more and more here. The PLI schemes launched across 14 key sectors have had a huge impact. We've already approved 55 applications across 14 sectors. Investments of about 1.23 lakhs crores have been realized, and the government has driven infrastructure creation in a very big way. So if you look at the infrastructure creation, the central government's capital expenditure jumped up from 1.7% of GDP to 3.4% of GDP. And we've driven the national infrastructure pipeline, the PM Gati Shakti. We've improved in the World Bank logistic performance sharply. All this so that India can become a manufacturing nation in a big way. It's been tough because we've also looked at futuristic areas. So if you look at the Make in India policy, is looking at cutting-edge areas of growth. The government has announced the National Quantum Mission. It is implementing the India Artificial Intelligence Mission. It is implementing an India Semiconductor Mission of 76,000 crores. These issues were never thought of. We are moving from being an importer of fossil fuel to an exporter of clean energy through the green hydrogen mission.
Yeah.
And the government wants India to become, the Prime Minister Modi's focus is to make India an innovative nation, and therefore there's a focus of 1 lakh crores on research and innovation for sunrise sectors in private-public partnership. This will drive Make in India in a very big way with innovation.
Yeah, you spoke of semiconductors, and I want to ask you a question. When we speak to experts, and recently we had a roundtable with industry experts on what the government can do in terms of semiconductors, they say that we're talking about semiconductors now. We're trying to set up the industry. We're trying to pump in money, but there is a problem in skilling. They're saying, where are we going to find the skilled labor? It's going to take us another 3 to 4 years before we find people who are skilled enough to take us to that level to match up and even be a player in the semiconductor industry. So how are you going to address that?
Oh, there's a huge focus. If you look at, I've been interacting with triple IITs, I've been interacting with IITs, I've been interacting with IIMs, I've been interacting with private engineering colleges. All of them are restructuring and reorienting their programs. All of them are now bringing in training programs for cutting-edge technologies. So you have AI courses, you have courses on semiconductors, you have skill-linked courses on several of your ITIs, on a range of areas of manufacturing, including electric vehicle manufacturing, battery manufacturing. Can you believe it? There are 14 IITs which have started courses on electric vehicle manufacturing and batteries. Yeah. And therefore, my view is that a very major transformation is taking place. It takes a little time, but the private sector has come in also to impart technologies on many of these areas, and you will see a huge ramping up of skills in India.
My last question, recently you had this great opposition leader called Rahul Gandhi who went to America, and I have his quote somewhere. I'm just going to read out, right? I have this quote from Rahul Gandhi who said something to the tune of, that China is fantastic in manufacturing, India's struggling. We haven't, been on the manufacturing bus for good, that we're not able to catch up. How do you respond to political comments like that?
No, so look at this. About 10 years back, we were 142 in ease of doing business. We were taking 7 years to give a patent. We were taking 4 years to give a trademark. We did not have industrial corridors. We did not have production-linked incentive. There were a huge number of rules, regulation, procedures, paperwork. It was a very complex ease of doing business regime. The foreign direct investment regime was closed. There was no investment on infrastructure. Now, obviously, there was no manufacturing in India. So over the last decade, we've made radical progress. We've moved into cutting-edge areas of growth as well, into AI, quantum, green hydrogen, many other areas. Now, a lot has happened. We've pushed India into a manufacturing nation, as you've seen in the case of a smartphone, electronic manufacturing, etc. Many of you would recall that 10 years back, we had Nokia manufacturing in India, but that manufacturing plant was closed because of some tax issues which could not be solved. And we have made a complete turnaround. Yeah. So while India was growing on services, now India is growing on both services and manufacturing and on Startup India. And therefore, India must fire on all cylinders. It must fire on manufacturing to create jobs. It must grow on services. It must urbanize. It must enhance agriculture productivity. Then only India will grow at 9 to 10% per annum, year after year for 3 decades.
Despite all the obstacles, I'll tell you, Mr. Kant, manufacturing contributing to 15.8% of to the economy in financial year 24, job growth soaring to nearly 63 million in financial year 23. PLI schemes, especially in mobile production, skyrocketing from 5.8 crore units in 2014-2015 to an impressive 33 crore units in 23-24. And we're meeting almost 98-99% of our domestic mobile needs. It's fantastic. And despite all the political opposition, and that's our biggest obstacle. People within don't want to cooperate in the India growth story for some reason. I'll leave it at that, Mr. Kant. It's been a fantastic story so far, and we just hope that in the interest of India, in the interest of our nation, the Make in India story gets stronger, bigger, better from here. Thank you very much, Amitabh Kant, for joining us on The Debate.
Thank you.